book discussion, Run, Rose, Run, written by Dolly Parton and James Patterson. It's a co-production between a writer, James Patterson, and a songwriter and singer, Dolly Parton. I think it's a great book. I think it's actually a fantastic book. And there's three things that I want to mention. One is the actual production, because this book is accompanied by an album. So this is a book about a singer. It could be Dolly Parton's life. It's not. It's not an autobiography or anything like that. But it might as well be. It's about a woman that goes to Nashville and becomes a star. And this story is accompanied by her songs in real time with a real album sung by Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton herself appears in the book, not under her name, but she actually reads that part. And she, basically an older former country star that helps this young woman become a star. So there is almost, again, autobiographical, a very closely knitted situation, very closely knitted story. Very interesting, I think. And just from a first perspective, you have a book about the music industry and it's accompanied by music. I think that's great. I think one of the biggest takeaways of the book, though, is a line in the book from, I think, the best song of the album, which is Big Dreams and Faded Jeans. And that is, my desire has always been bigger than my fear. And I think that sort of summarizes the book. And I think one of the big sort of learnings that I got from the book is also, in general, the language of country music. It's, if you want, kind of Occam's razor of language, which is country music just has this ability to put things on a very pointy, short pedestal and explain what things are about, life's about. So it's kind of like the hip hop for white people, if you want, because it's poetry the same way hip hop is poetry. It's different, of course. The language is different. People are different. There's a lot more, connotations to life as it pertains sort of more in a canonical way, versus maybe hip hop is more actual real life and things like that. But anyway, I think the language of country, which permeates throughout the book, it's a beautiful thing. Very similar to the book I just recently read and also spoke about, which is Demon Copperhead, where I noticed a hip hop language, actually, the poetry of hip hop being permeated through the book. This one is the poetry of country music, and Dolly Parton, of course, as probably the biggest female songwriter in country music alive, is certainly a great, it's a great character to actually execute on a project like this. For listeners that are new to this podcast series, why are we discussing book? The purpose of the Not Even Wrong podcast is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. So why do we discuss books? It's not just a pastime of hedge fund managers. It is actually part of the business. Reading books is part of the business. It helps us, if at least do some yoga for the mind, just learn to be flexible, things along those lines. But it's a lot more than that, actually. You learn a lot of things. You see things from a different angle. Let's say in this particular book, you learn about the music industry in Nashville. I mean, it's an industry. It's an industry like any other industry. I mean, the word industry has been chosen not just like that. I mean, it's important to recognize that businesses, money making, wealth creation, in any form, shape, or form, have similarities. And Silicon Valley and Nashville, they have their own uniqueness, but they also have a lot of things in common. This is the Not Even Wrong podcast. It's July 5th, 2023. This is Chris Delco. For the day, the fund is up 2.2%. The market's down 10 basis points. For the year, we are up 140.7%. The market is up 15.7% were outperforming by 125%. Book discussion, Dolly, Parton, and James Patterson. The book is called Run, Rose, Run. It's a book about a woman that goes to Nashville and becomes a star. From rags to riches. It's a story accompanied by some drama. There's almost little bit of brutality in there. I would say it's relatively shallow when it comes to the actual storytelling. So I would say it's not the most interesting storytelling, but it's interesting enough, particularly because the content, the story itself is very good. So it's not well. It's a bit shallow. It's just almost predictable. Those sort of things, but that's okay. That's not a deal breaker. Yeah, I still recommend it, highly recommend it, because of a couple of things that definitely permeate the book that are beautiful. And the first, like I said, it is a book that is accompanied by music. There's actually a real album, but it's more than that. It's you can read the book and you can hear the songs while reading the book. You feel the songs, you feel the words, you feel the melodies. All of those things are beautiful companions to the book. And this is a first, so it's never been done before. The performance of I listened to the audiobook, so there's another level of interest here. The performance is amazing by the actors who are reading the book, particularly the lady that does the main character, and then Dolly Parton herself in the role of a famous retired country singer. I mean, it could be her. She's just using different names. So again, worth reading, worth listening to, although again, the story itself may be a bit shallow. But what really permeates through is, like I said, in that line from Big Dreams and Faded Jeans, which is my desire has always been bigger than my fear. I think this is a beautiful line, and it encompasses what this book is about, what a lot of the American spirit is about, and I would say any kind of spirit is about, which is, look, we all have fears. I mean, this is the famous Mike Tyson line that, we're all scared. When we walk in the ring, we're all scared. The question is, what do we do with it? And the offset to fear is dream, or desire, or drive, or whatever word you want to use. I think they all sort of flow into the same mold of look, either you have what it takes, either you have the power and the desire and the drive and the courage to go and step out there and do what you need to do despite of your fear. Sometimes your fear is even the driver, because you got to overcome that thing. So this is what permeates this book. The main character is a very feisty, firecracky type of very talented lady that just goes her way. And that's what's so beautiful about this situation in a nutshell. I think you can take it, again, like I do often in these book discussions. I relate it to myself, our situation at Orange Capital Partners, but more importantly also to my life. And I've always been saying this on this podcast series. The purpose of this podcast series is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. So what it feels like to run a hedge fund is very, very similar to an artist that goes to Nashville and tries to make it. Actually, me and Zominar literally went through the same sort of feeling when we were in New York City. New York City is the Nashville of finance. It's the place where stars are made. It's the place where you go to make it in finance. So the similarities are very different, which, by the way, is, for me as an immigrant to the United States, that's a very interesting observation, that how the United States has these centers of excellence. Silicon Valley for technology, Los Angeles for rock and roll and movies, Nashville for country music. Los Angeles and New York share the hip hop fame. Detroit for used to be for cars. Now it's Austin, Texas, because Tesla is there. Then we have Chicago for trading, not finance, but trading. Chicago Board of Trade and Chicago Board of Options Exchange, and so on and so forth. And I could go on. There's even more centers. The Center for Education in the Northeast. That's more of a sort of a region, New England and the Northeast, with all the big universities there. And again, that's probably shared with other places in the country. But nevertheless, there's this center of excellence, which is a very interesting economic phenomenon that I observed as an immigrant. Maybe for Americans, that's like, yeah, duh. So what's the big deal? But it's interesting, nevertheless. So I think because of these centers of excellence, they exist. I think there's also lots of similarities. Nashville's similar to New York. Like I said, me and Zobinar, when we started Orange Capital Partners, we were in a similar situation. We were nobodies. We had something under our belt. We had some talent and some history and all of that kind of stuff. But it wasn't enough to raise money and come to fame. And even once we raised money, and even once we started, the path towards success is very difficult to go, because you have one failure, let's say one bad year, like this happened to us. We were on the up, and then we had 2 bad years in a row, and it basically killed us. We lost all of our customers with the exception of one. And why shouldn't we? I mean, people started doubting everything we do, including ourselves. And then we came back from the ashes, and we made it. And I would say now we are in a good place. We have enough certainty about our approach. We have clarity over our purpose, and we can overcome our fears with the principle stack that we've built, which is a sort of a set of rules and principles that underline our actions. And once you have this type of North Star in your actions, sort of a moral compass when it comes to business, then you are safe. You are safe. You can overcome your fears. So there's a lot of learning we went through, certainly applicable to any kind of star ascending, and that's what I like to make that's why I think I like to make this bridge between the book and our own experience and the hedge fund experience. For people that listen here that are thinking of starting their own hedge fund or even their own business, this is definitely a book worth reading. Now, what the main message here is, like, look, you have to have a clear understanding of who you are and where you stand. And you have to have an answer to what's next all the time, no matter what comes at you. And you have to be ready to fight. You cannot run away from a fight. Don't look for them. Don't provoke them. Don't be a nasty bully person. None of that stuff. But life will throw fights at you all the time. You have to stand up to them. You have to face them. And there's even a song on this album, which is "Woman Up, Take It Like a Man." I think it couldn't be more clear what Dolly, Parton, James Patterson are trying to say here. So again, this is also, of course, a beautiful thing that you have this ability to read the book and listen to the songs and then get, one story here and one story there. But at the end, they both converge. I think another thing which is great about the book is the insight into the situation and into the scene in Nashville. Again, Nashville is a sort of enigmatic place, the place where country music comes from. What does that even mean? There's an industry, there's radio, there's recording, there's promotions, there's people trying to get on each other's concerts, support each other, help each other. A lot of that kind of stuff. Very similar again to Silicon Valley. Of course, Silicon Valley stage is not the concert stage. It's a different type of stage. More recently, it's an online stage. Now it's an even more driven, like an AI stage. But again, the concepts are similar. Of course, the actual manifestation is very different, but definitely worth reading just for insights into what's going on in Nashville, what's going on in the music industry, which is interesting for people who are interested in the music industry, but also interesting for any kind of people who are interested in business or industries and how they work. Summarize the three big points I want to make about this book, Run, Rose, Run. Number one, the actual production, the combination of a novel about the music industry accompanied by an actual album where the songs on the album are part of the book and are described and sometimes even have a plot or part of a plot in the book. So I think this is great. This is a first, an interesting try that Dolly Parton and James Patterson are executing extremely well. I think the second thing is the actual sort of moral, fundamental, emotional message the book is sending through, which is encompassed in the line of, from my opinion, the best song on the album, which is Big Dreams and Faded Jeans, and the line is my dream, my desire has always been bigger than my fear. This is absolutely clear. It could be my desire has always been bigger than my fear, or my desires have always been bigger than my fears. Both of them are fine. I don't recall exactly which one it is, but doesn't matter. Both of them are fine. So that encompasses sort of the moral underpinning of the book, which is that you have almost, in order to live, in order to achieve something in life, you have to always overcome your fear. And the way you overcome your fear is by desire. And third and last, what I want to mention here is the sort of the explanation or the insight into the music industry in Nashville, which is interesting from a curiosity perspective, but also from a learning perspective. Thank you.